Hey, what's up and welcome. It's Matthew here, the designer and developer from South Africa. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design. In this video, I'm going to explain in detail what an algorithm is. Have you ever heard of the YouTube algorithm, Facebook algorithm, TikTok algorithm? In this video, I'm going to explain that in details. Also, I'm going to show you how am I going to implement an algorithm in my own platform, music streaming platform, industry plug that I am busy with. So let's just jump straight into it. Some time ago in my channel, this is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, I started a series of video and the name was YouTube Reverse Engineering. In this series of videos, I was looking at the platform YouTube and I was trying to dissect it and analyze and break it down into pieces so that somebody can really understand how it has been made. And also the intention behind was to some sort of help coders to understand the architecture, that the foundation and the blueprint and the object-oriented analysis and design, it's very important. It's the key component of building a usable application. Obviously, I'm not an expert in myself. I never worked for Google, but how did I come about to think first I can dissect this platform? It's because I was introduced to the concept, software development concept called design pattern. Design patterns are very important. Those are tools for thinking for developers. Those are problems that have existed in the programming paradigm, and they are solutions. So if you want to know more about design pattern, please go and Google the Gang of Four. So design pattern gave me an idea as to how bigger platforms are created. So this is that series. So I was explaining, analyzing YouTube platform and giving you some ideas as to how it has been constructed. After that, I did a follow-up series which was how to think like a YouTube engineer, which is this one. So I added from the previous series about analyzing YouTube, and then I was like, okay, fine, let me teach people how does YouTube engineers think. And then from then I was like, I'm getting an insight into this architecture thing, software architecture thing, and I was like, let me create my own platform. And then from then, that's where I asked myself, what is an algorithm? Because now, as I'm creating my own platform, as I am some sort of busy with the architecture of this platform, because now I don't want to just jump to code. I have transitioned from that. Let's say you are thinking of an application and then you quickly jump to code, you quickly jump to HTML and type things, and that's it. I was like, I need to be decent. Sorry about that. I need to be decent. I need to be professional. I need to own the system and also my craft. So let me start with the architecture. But the missing puzzle in the architecture, really, if I can be honest with you, I didn't know what an algorithm is. Obviously, I can see that all these social media platforms, they've got an algorithm, and it must be an important thing. But I was struggling to understand, number one, what is it? Most importantly, I was struggling to understand, how does this algorithm thing fit into my own architecture? So in this video, I'm going to answer that. Okay. Otherwise, I'm Matthew Msingathi, the designer and developer from South Africa. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design. If you've got some time, you can just visit it and click that subscribe button. Let's jump straight into it. Okay. This is Industry Plug. It's a music streaming platform. It's more like a competitor of Spotify, if I can say. But however, here, this is the behind the scene. I'm taking you through what I'm thinking, how am I doing it, what are the things that I'm struggling with. Okay, so at this moment in time, we are in the user interface design. So as you can see, this is just a pure HTML. Sorry about that. Pure HTML. So how does then the algorithm fit into the picture? Okay, as I'm almost like 80% in the design of the welcome screen. This is a welcome screen, so I'm almost 80% there. Now I was like, okay, my home screen, what is it going to show? Okay, it's clear that these are songs. Okay, by the way, this is Questa, a South African hip-hop artist. Okay, so what am I going to show here? Okay, based on the design and my planning, I know I'm going to show songs because these are songs. Okay, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. What type of songs am I going to show? Let's say you are the first time user, you are visiting the page. What songs am I going to show you? Am I going to show like one songs, like let's say I've got 10 songs or 30 songs that I always show on the landing page? Ain't those songs going to be dynamic? Maybe they will change so that when you visit again, maybe they are different. Okay, I was like, okay, obviously they're supposed to change. You can't visit this page, like this app, 30 times and you'll find the same songs on the dashboard or on the welcome screen. Okay, and I was like, okay, I do understand that this needs to be dynamic. And then I then asked myself, how am I going to determine dynamic? Am I going to randomly choose songs and put them here, or maybe it's going to be like the latest songs, the latest uploads? Okay, for that matter, what is latest? And remember, this is an application, and this is what as developers we don't think about. As much as this is an application, it's coding. But now that we are transitioning from being coders into tech giants, we need to think about the user. We need to be user centric, if that words exist in the English vocabulary. We need to be user centric. We need to be user focused. So meaning that as much as I have to determine what songs are going to be here, if I think that I'm going to present as a developer what I think is right, I've already failed. Industry plug might not boom, it might not transition, it might not take off, because it's all about the user. So this means that I need to rearrange this playlist according to the user's preferences. Obviously, when you are a walk-in, that means when I'm saying a walk-in user, I mean it's like you've just got the link and you've just clicked the link. It's your first time. You haven't registered, you haven't logged in, you are just a visitor, a normal visitor. Then what am I going to display to you? So it means that I must, as a developer, find a certain system, a certain function, algorithm, a certain system that will help me to present something that you might be interested in. At this point in time, I don't have a choice but to assume what you might be interested in. That means I need to understand what are the things that the viewer might be interested in. Meaning that number one, recent upload. Number two, trending songs. Number four, the most viewed songs. Okay. Okay, I was comfortable with that, and I was like, okay, for the walk-in viewer, the one that is not registered, the one that's just got the link, it's their first time, that's how I can arrange these songs for him or her. Okay, now I was like, what if maybe somebody has logged in? I know their username, I know their password, I know a little bit about them, I know more about their previous decisions and what they like. So that gave me an idea that, hey, there is a lot that I must collect about the user, because now I don't want to have a default list that is always here, because people might lose interest in the platform because it's just the same thing. Okay, so that gave me an idea that I need to have in my database structure a table which is going to be called analytics. Okay, this table is going to contain all the analytics for the entire system. What might be in the analytics? I need to know the user ID. I need to know what songs they have been playing. I need to know, did they finish playing the song? Did they put the song on repeat? Did they like the song? Did they love the song? Did they share the songs? And all of that information is going to help me to understand specifically a user, a certain user. And for instance, Matthew as a user. And then from then, once I got all that information, I need to arrange this section of the application according to the user's preferences, or according to the user's consumer behavior, I can say. Okay, so I was like, okay, meaning that now before I display these views here, now I'm not going to just select randomly 30 songs and display them here. I need to some sort of rearrange though these songs according to what is the last song that the user has played, what is the song in his playlist or choices that has got the most what can I say, likes, or the song that he likes the most, or the song that is it has been being played the most. So whenever you play a song, I need to update the stats of that song, the analytics of that song, so that I can know which song that has been played the most, so that in this area I can some sort of display things that you are interested in. And then that's where I was like, I think the functions that are going to help me to decide what I am displaying here, it's the algorithm. That's what they call algorithm, because it's that intelligent piece of code that is more focused on the psychology of the user. It's more focused on the psychology of the user. It has got some certain patterns on how people think and the choices they make, and it selects information, it queries information from the database based on your behavior, a user behavior. And that, my friend, it's an algorithm. Okay, so now let's go to the dashboard, to Figma, and then let's try to make this clear. Okay, so number one, remember I told you that architecture is very important. Okay, so now here I'm going to talk about the MVC pattern, model controller view. I'm assuming that at least you understand a thing or two about this, so I'm not going to explain much about it, but I'm just going to give you a bird's eye view of what MVC is. Okay, so basically MVC is more like input, process, and output. If you know input, process, and output, MVC, it's like that. Okay, we've got the view. Okay, we've got the view here, and then we've got the model, and then we've got the controller. The view, it's like your HTML, the face of your application. Okay, and the controller, as the name implies, it controls everything that is going on in the system. It's more like the decision maker. Okay, and the model, it's everything that relates to the database. Okay, now that I understood that there is something called algorithm, and at least now I know what it is. It's just an intelligent piece of code that will determine what are we displaying to the user. Okay, it's just an intelligent piece of code that determines what are we displaying to the user. But the question was, how does it fits into this architecture? Okay, obviously this is just a some sort of a summary of an architecture. So when I talk about architecture, I'm not only talking about the MVC, which is the model, views, and controllers. There's a lot of things involved in the architecture where I can say, let's talk about the design pattern. Where my factory is, that means a class that will manufacture objects for me. When is it called and how is it called? So that means that will form part of an architecture. And also in terms of the web application routing, how does the request comes from the view to the controller and how they are handled? Okay, meaning that I need to have a router that will associate request to a specific function or a specific controller. So when I'm talking about architecture, I'm talking about a lot of things, but in this video I'm just going to make it plain simple. Okay, so now that I know that an algorithm, it's a piece of intelligent code that will help me to know what to display to the home page of the viewer. So it's the piece of code that will help me to arrange these views. How is it going to be arranged? Is it going to be 1, 2, 3, the first 3 songs that you've previously played plus a playlist, or is it going to be 1, 2, 3 song and some sort of an a call to action for the system. As you can see here, I'm asking you to sign up because you haven't signed up yet. So an algorithm is that piece of code, that piece of intelligence that helps me, or that helps the system to display meaningful information, like more like content that relate to a specific user. This recently somebody asked for my phone, and I asked them, what are you going to do with my phone, because my phone is boring, it's full of IT stuff and whatever, so I don't have any entertainment interesting things. She said, no, I want to use your TikTok. Okay, and I was like, okay, it's fine. So when I gave her the phone to use my TikTok, and obviously she said, your TikTok, it's boring. And I was like, what were you expecting? She said, no, I thought, I'm going to get some interesting thing, comedy and whatever. In that conversation, what I've realized that is social media platforms are so high on creating customized experience, and that's why they are winning, and that's why they are social media platform. And the reason why they create those customized experience is the algorithm. It's what we are discussing now. So this means that as general as TikTok is, which is it's a platform for everyone, in once it lands on your hand, it means that it's customized. It changes from being general, it becomes a specific application. For instance, once TikTok lands on your hand, like it's in your phone, you've installed it, it will collect information about you, and it will feed you about your unique experience and what you like. So basically this means that we don't have the same app then. Psychologically, yes. Technically, we have the same app and the name is TikTok. But once you start using the app, don't expect what you've seen in your TikTok, it's what you are going to see in my TikTok. What makes that difference is because social media platform, they want to create a unique, customized experience. To give you a clear understanding of what I'm saying, they know more about you than you know yourself. That's why they are feeding you with the same thing. So my TikTok is not the same as your TikTok psychologically. Okay, now that I understand an algorithm and what it is, and I was asking myself, where does it fit in into my architecture? I'm very high on the architecture because I've realized that if you just jump into code without an architecture, without a blueprint, without object-oriented analysis and design, without understanding what are the objects, classes that you are going to instantiate and what is the relationship between them, then you are going to have some sort of god classes that knows everything about anything, of which that's a problem because your code is going to be coupled together. That means it's not going to be easy to maintain and to make changes. So now I've got the algorithm. How does it fit in? At first, when I was thinking about algorithm, I was convinced that algorithm, it's more like in the model, because I knew that algorithm queries information from the database, but it does something to that information before it displays it on the user, or before that information goes back and be returned as a view. I knew that something is being done, but before I was convinced that it's more like a query, an intelligent querying procedure that sits here on the model, which is in all the classes and functions that deals with connecting to the database. Now, as I'm busy diving deep and also creating my own platform, industry plug, I'm like, no man, it doesn't really sit in the model section of the architecture. I think it's somewhere in the controllers. Okay, it's somewhere in here in the controllers, because it's a controller, meaning that it's more like it makes intelligent decision. And in the MVC, the part that deals with intelligent decision is the controller. So an algorithm must be one of the controllers. So this now tells me that controllers are not the same. It's like they are segmented, they are different type of controllers. So there are algorithm controllers, there are system controllers that are responsible for like managing the MVC. So it's not like that you just have got one controller, because now I've identified an algorithm as a controller. Okay, but then let's take a normal request. Okay, let's say this person is landing here on the home page. Let me just type here. Now I want to make this very clear for you. Let's say somebody is reaching the home page. Somebody who reaches the home page, it's somebody who has not like registered in the system. It's someone, it's just a random user. Okay, meaning that we are going to hit a home controller. Okay, and then from there, okay, even if I can do this here, it's not a problem. We're going to hit home controller here, of course, and then we're going to hit the home model here. Okay, let's just take a normal request response cycle, home model. Okay, also I can put enter here. Okay, let's trace this request. Okay, let's trace this request from somebody who has just clicked this link. What happens behind the scene up until the page loads what it's supposed to load? Okay, this person came here through a link. Okay, and then obviously this link will give the controller more information. For instance, once it's indexed, let's say, and then the controller, sorry about that, the controller now will know that, okay, we are supposed to load the home page. Okay, so what the controller does, okay, just a moment, done here, done. Okay, so what the controller does, it needs to understand the type of request, and then from then it needs to associate let me just do this, make this small. Okay, undo, press K, and then make it small. Okay, so what the controller needs to do, okay, it needs to communicate to the model, which is all the functions and classes that relate to connecting to the database, and tell the model that I'm loading, I'm busy, I'm about to load, I'm responding to a request that has been sent by the home page. Okay, so this request needs some sort of views for the songs, but in the normal request response cycle, without talking about the algorithm, the home is going to ask for this request in the controller, and the controller will tell the model, please load for me songs that I'm going to display on the view. Okay, once the controller is done with that, it will then sorry, so it will then call a view which is a home view. Okay, a home view, and take all the list of songs and decorate them and put some HTML, wrap around with some tags and what until it looks like this. Okay, so normally a normal response request cycle goes like this. This view, the HTML, asks for the controller, I need everything that I'm going to display on the home page. Okay, the controller will go to the database and query a list of songs that are going to be displayed, and then from then it will take that list of songs, maybe as an array or JSON string, and it will load the view that knows what to do with that list. And this view class, what it will do, it will wrap that list with HTML and mix it with HTML, and then it creates this list. Okay, now, unfortunately, the list is not as simple as it's supposed to be, because if we were talking only about songs, song 1, song 2, song 3 without a playlist, song 4, song 4, song 5, song 6 without this add or system add, and song 7, this was going to be simple. This was just going to be a normal request response cycle. But then let's talk about algorithm. The algorithm gets into the way. That means it's disturbing, not necessarily it's disturbing because it's helping. It's some sort of joining the controllers this request response cycle. Okay, now we need to know where does it intercept. This is architecture, because depending on where you fit it, it will determine the quality of your code, it will determine the flexibility of your code, it will determine your code reuse, how easy it is to reuse your code, it will determine how scalable your code is going to be. So do you see that architecture is more important? One of my friends who's working in one of the big companies in software development industry here in South Africa, he told me that a bad architecture, it's a problem. A bad architecture can stress the developers, because the manager wants the information or wants the project to be completed, but the developer at this point in time, he's like trapped in the maze. He's busy wasting like 90% of his resources and time trying to understand where is what. But with a very smart and clear and focused architecture, everyone can know where algorithm classes and functions are, and conceptually mean that in terms of diagram, it's easier for them to understand when you're explaining to them. Okay, so now we need to know how does the algorithm some sort of gets in between this system. Okay, let's start from scratch. I am the controller in HTML. Somebody has just clicked here, so now I'm reporting to the back end. I'm telling the home controller that, okay, I will need information from the database. Okay, now let me put this down. Now the algorithm comes here. Okay, this is where the algorithm intersect. I think I might as well use an arrow here. I think, let me delete this, sorry about that. Let me get an arrow. Okay, now the algorithm comes and gets in the way. Okay, that means between the controller and the model, the algorithm gets in there. Okay, the algorithm will get in between the model and the controller. Okay, one last thing, let me make some circles. Okay, okay, just a moment. Let me remove this. Let me put a stroke here. Okay, so we've got the home controller. Okay, and also we've got the model, which is being called. It's a separate class, but here I'm just saying it's being called. And then let me move this line down. Okay, and then we've got the view that is going to be called also. Okay, somewhere in between we've got a controller. Okay, that just pops in and seeks attention. Okay, sorry, we've got an algorithm. Okay, so somewhere here, this is where the algorithm stands. Okay, it stands between the controller, which is a certain controller, and the model. Okay, so now let's just it looks like I have moved some of the things. Okay, let me just move this. Okay, that is it. Okay, so now the home controller is asking for a view to display here on the home, on the controller, as a home controller. Now before the home controller queries information, it has to first ask the algorithm. So the algorithm needs to understand that, okay, what type of an algorithm are you looking for? Okay, I think for consistency, it might be better for us also to have home algorithm, so that we know that it's the home, let's say it's a home request. It looks for the home controller. The home controller needs to check that, do we have a home algorithm? Yes, apply that algorithm, and then when we are calling the model, we know that we're going to call the home model. Once we get all that information, and then we're going to send that information to the home view. So do you understand that the naming is very important here, because it doesn't make sense if you've got a home request that calls for dashboard controller, and then dashboard and home might make the programmer's life difficult, because now no one will think that this home request is tied to the dashboard. Okay, so the naming needs to be consistent. Then again, this is architecture. Okay, so once the home controller has been asked or waken up, and then it has to go and ask for the algorithm, how do I query? Because now this is the intelligence about the user and the human behavior and the psychology. Okay, so meaning that, let's make this practical. Then the algorithm is going to say, okay, we are loading a home dashboard. Okay, so when you are loading a home dashboard, the first 3 songs are going to be the trending songs, because we want to entice this person. So we must tell this person, or we must show the most popular song. Since when you're coming to the music platform, obviously maybe you are influenced by the society, maybe the trending song in radio and whatever. So the first 3 songs, you are going to query the latest songs. Okay, and then from then, the third view, you must query the hottest playlist, Amapiano Mix 2023. Okay, in South Africa we've got this new genre called Amapiano. It's like a certain genre or subversion of a house, and that's it. So Amapiano Mix is more like a hip-hop mix, R&B mix, or that's the context here. So in case you are wondering what this name means. Okay, so let's say this is a hip-hop playlist. Okay, so now choose the popular playlist, the most played playlist. Okay, remember who is working now. Where are we? It's the controller. It's the sorry, it's the algorithm. This is the algorithm at work. These are the decisions that it has to make. So in simplicity, we can say the algorithm, this is what it does functionally, not conceptually and psychologically. Functionally, it prepares a list of, for now I'm just going to say query strings. Okay, meaning that before we go to the model class and say select all from what, select all, select this, who creates a list of the query section? It's the algorithm. Okay, so let's now put that into perspective. The algorithm will its own first query string will be select the top 3 songs from the table songs, obviously in the criteria of most viewed or trending, which is trending. Let's say in this, technically it means the most viewed songs. So the most viewed song, it must be the trending, or the most songs that has got the most searched hashtags. So the criteria might differ, but at least you understand the essence of how do we query this first 3 part. Okay, and then from then, when it's done with that, the algorithm would then prepare another query string, which is select the most viewed playlist from playlist, which is most viewed technically in terms of SQL. It might be select all from playlist, or select certain playlist where let's say views, it's the most views, or yes, which is the most views, or views is greater than whatever, or the most hashtags. So that will be some sort of a sample of a query string there, and then from then that information is going to be returned. And then here, let's say the other 3, it's the this one was the most viewed. Let's say this one is the most recent, meaning that the songs that has been uploaded recently, it doesn't matter if they are, what can I say, they are the most views or 0 views, but anything that has been, let's say, uploaded in the last 30 minutes, then that will be that query here. And then from then, since we know you are in the home page and you are not logged in yet, then also we must create select all from the system. And as you can see here, this is some sort of a call to action for the system to encourage, or to prompt the user to register and log in. Okay, and that will be it. And then when the algorithm is done with that, which is the home algorithm is done with that, it will continue and take that information to the model. The model needs to know when it accepts the information from the algorithm, then it needs to execute all those query strings. And also when it executing, it needs to some sort of control that transaction. Okay, let me say, okay, so that means what it needs to do, it needs to start the transaction, start. Okay, it needs to start the transaction, and it needs to monitor the transaction, how it goes, which is the whole query thing request. Okay, until it reaches the end of a transaction. Okay, until it reaches the end of the transaction, because these transactions are not coming one by one, they are not some sort of independent transaction, so everything must be executed entirely. That means all these query strings, in order for us to display this as it is, all those query strings must be displayed. Okay, maybe in case one of them fail, what are we going to do? Is it a must that everything must be here? To me, at this moment in time, my thinking is telling me that it's not a must that everything must be here. Let's say there's a problem with loading a playlist. We don't mind not showing the playlist at this point in time. So we can, whenever one of one of those transaction fail, one of those queries fail, let's just return an empty thing, whatever it is, so that here this will just disappear, so that it cannot be here. Okay, but the essence here, number one, I wanted to show you what an algorithm is and also where it fits in the architecture. Okay, so now once these queries are executed entirely and perfectly, and then we will return to the controller, and the controller will ask for the view to say that I've got this information, raw data. Now rearrange this information in such a way that it's fit for being displayed on the view. Then this home view will create an HTML structure, which is this is what it will create. We are going to see now. Okay, let me delete this, remove this. Okay, so this is the HTML structure that the view will create. Obviously here it will use the information from the database, which is the artist name, the artist songs, and wara, the views and everything. So number one, an algorithm stands between the controller and the model. It prepares query strings intelligently based on a certain criteria. For instance, this one, it was based on the home criteria. When the user is logged in, it will prepare query strings based on the user's previous behavior. How is it going to know that? It must first query. Remember, it's a controller, so it has the right to talk to the models. Okay, so it will mean that it has to first query based on an ID the information about the user, and then from then it will create an algorithm, some sort of a series of SQL statements that are going to be executed in the model, and then from then bring it back to the controller. The controller will call the home view, and the home view will prepare the HTML, and then from then it will send it back to the views. Guys, that's about it. I hope this is clear. In this video, we have learned number one, the MVC in details, how it works. Okay, this is the view, this is the controller, and this is the model. Now you are supposed to know what each of these sections is doing, what the view, what the controller, and what the model is doing. Number two, we have learned about an algorithm. What is an algorithm? It's an intelligent piece of code that is responsible for governing what is going to be displayed or to be fed to the user, okay, based on the psychology of the user or a certain goal. For instance, for home view, the goal is to entice the user. As you can see that everything relates to the user when it comes to the algorithm. Okay, and then from then, in terms of the architecture, you must know where this algorithm is going to fit in. As you can see, it's between the controller and the model. It prepares a certain query statements, or the order in those query statements. What are we going to ask from the database? This algorithm will determine that based on the knowledge of the user, or the behavior, the psychological behavior of the user. I am Matthew Msingathi, the designer and developer. If you feel like this has added value into your own overall understanding of PHP, MVC, model view, controllers, algorithm, please do me a favor. As you can see, at this point in time, we are sitting on 99 subscribers. Please make sure that you are that guy who's going to help me to jump into 100 subscribers. Slowly but surely we are growing. Also, don't forget to also check other playlist of mine. As you can see, I've got a music player app, I've got UX UI, I've got advanced PHP skills where I'm talking about the factory pattern, singleton pattern, what is Laravel, dependency injection. So otherwise, for me, thank you so much for clicking this video. See you on the next one.